The day God took down an army alone, shocking proof of divine power at 3 a.m. The night was suffocatingly dark, heavy with an eerie stillness that hung like a shroud over the small town of Millfield. It was 3 a.m., a time when all the world should be asleep, yet shadows crept along the ground, alive with whispered secrets. Folk said that on nights like these, magic could happen or horrors too dark to fathom. And they were right. What the unwary didn't know was that millions of eyes in the heavens were locked onto a truth unknown to most on earth in a secluded clearing, not too far from where a gruesome battle had raged just hours before. A faint glow began to pulse. Bright as a newborn star, the light shimmered against the trees, flickering with an energy that sent chills down the spines of anyone who witnessed it. There were no birds, no rustling leaves, just a dreadful quiet as if the universe held its breath in anticipation. Soldiers, clad in tattered uniforms, expected nothing less than victory that night. Yet, as they marched forward, fear crept in like a thief, unbidden but undeniable. What was that light? Someone whispered, and replies bounced around, vacillating between bravado and dread. No one dared to approach. Then, without warning, a thunderous roar erupted from the heavens. It was not the sound of thunder. It felt like the very fabric of reality was torn apart. Some claimed it was God himself descending to show humankind his power, while others shivered and looked to the ground as if praying for forgiveness, their faces pale and drawn. The air was electric, charged with a surge of raw energy. It painted the forest in surreal colors. One brave soul stepped forward, a soldier named Ryan, his heart racing a frantic drum. He wondered if he was witnessing a miracle or the end of everything. "Look! It's glowing!" A frightened voice called out just then, breaking the ghostly silence that clung to the scene. The ground shook beneath Ryan's feet, making him stumble. He felt a tightness in his chest, the chilling grip of fear squeezing him as he stared at the otherworldly glow. Was this the end, or something far worse? Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the glow intensified, a figure shimmered into focus within the light, a being cloaked in brilliance that made even the bravest hearts tremble. Who or what was this apparition? Was it friend, foe, or something that transcended both? Around the soldiers, gasps echoed in the stillness, reflecting a whirlwind of emotions. They stood frozen, eyes wide, questioning everything they thought they knew. Then came a soft voice, like an angelic whisper carried on the wind, shattering the palpable tension. Your struggles are about to end. In that moment, dread melded with an odd sense of hope. Was deliverance finally near? As the glow expanded, it began to bathe the soldiers in warmth, wrapping them in a cocoon of tranquility unlike anything they'd ever known. But right before the moment could solidify into something understood, the world around exploded in a cacophony of chaos. The very sky split apart. They could practically taste the tension on their tongues. The question hanging heavy in the air was this: could a mere mortal grasp the dimension of divine intervention? Or was this a prelude to devastation yet unseen? A blinding flash tore through the night, slicing apart the darkness like a knife through soft butter. Ryan squinted, shielding his eyes, but the intensity of the glow was relentless. As if orchestrated by a hidden force, the very atmosphere vibrated with energy. The soldiers instinctively recoiled, but something anchored them in place: fear, wonder, or belief in a deliverance that seemed imminent. "Stay together," a voice barked. It was Sergeant Miles, his brows furrowed, frustration mixing with awe. The weight of the moment pressed against them all, the air thick with unexplainable miracles and cracking tension. And then, amid the brilliance, the figure took a step forward. Ryan's jaw dropped as he took in the sight. Wings, iridescent and vast, unfurled from the being's back, twinkling like stars against a vast canvas of black. The voice, though gentle, resonated like thunder, sending shivers through their bones. "You have lost your way, wandering soldiers. It is time to choose." Ryan's heart raced. Was this choice just for them, or for all? The sound of regimented marching faded into an unsettling silence, and he looked around as men began to tremble. Faces grew pale, and eyes reflected both terror and a flicker of hope. Was this the end of their fears, or the birth of something unimaginable? "What do we do?" Ryan whispered to himself, anxiety pooling in his stomach. The ground quaked once more, but this time, it wasn't just fear. It felt like an awakening, like the earth itself was responding. An unsettling feeling chased itself through Ryan's mind. "Is this real?" he thought. "Is this a test?" The wings shimmering in the night seemed to pulse in rhythm with the soldiers' ragged breaths. "Step into the light and be made anew, or retreat into the shadows, back to the darkness from whence you came," the ethereal being declared, voice echoing into the heart of each soldier. Ryan's mind spun. His comrades hesitated, glancing at one another, uncertainty thick in the air. This was more than a battle, it was a reckoning. With every heartbeat he felt time stretching, a frame frozen between choice and consequence. They were warriors, trained for combat yet unprepared for this. They had witnessed death, destruction, and anguish, but nothing like this. "Do we trust it?" Miles's voice trembled, genuine fear breaking through the bluster. The glow flared, and the voice grew warmer, almost tender. "You are seen. Your pain acknowledged. I offer a chance, a rebirth, or the return to an endless cycle of suffering." Should they trust this being? The divine or the terrifying? Echoes of their fallen comrades resonated in Ryan's heart, memories of lives lost in pools of blood whispering warnings. "I can't." Ryan felt the weight of their past claw at him, yet somewhere deep within, a flicker of yearning ignited a wish for redemption, for a chance to step away from the violence they had inflicted, to redefine their fate. "My heart," he murmured. "Do we dare?" But just then, the ground beneath them fractured, the glow pulsating with a violent urgency. Shadows from the trees whipped across their faces with a chilling serenity. The scream of wind clawed through the clearing as the figure took a step back, eyes wild, wings tightening around its body. "Choose quickly, for the veil between worlds is thin, and darkness looms close." Their breaths came in anxious bursts. Could they find the courage they held within? Fate, it seemed, had drawn an invisible line. Was this a moment of glory awaiting them, or an abyss threatening to swallow them whole? As Ryan looked around, desperation painted his comrades' faces. The choice loomed, monumental and terrifying, but what he didn't yet realize was that the choice might not lay in their hands at all. What awaited them in that dazzling light? And what price would be exacted for a decision made when fear eclipsed reason? The rumble beneath them escalated, shaking Ryan to his core. He could feel the panic radiating off his comrades, eyes wide and faces glistening with sweat. The air was charged, alive with an energy that held both promise and dread. "We have to decide." Miles barked, desperation seeping through the cracks of his bravado. "Now." The luminous figure remained steadfast, wings expanding, filling their vision with a shimmering cascade that somehow made the shadows retreat just a little more. "You fear what you do not understand," it intoned, a strange mix of patience and urgency colorizing each word. "The light is powerful, but so is the darkness. Embrace what you are meant to be." Ryan's heart pounded, each beat matching the tempo of his racing thoughts. What did it mean to embrace this light? At that moment, memories flooded him, screams, chaos, pulling the trigger, the faces of those he couldn't save. Could one step toward this being absolve him of the horror he had wrought? "Ryan," whispered a familiar voice from behind him. It was Daniel's, his eyes shimmering with tears. "What if it's a trap? What if we believe and it leads to more suffering?" The fear in Daniel's voice twisted like a knife. He wasn't just speaking for himself, he was articulating the very struggle that gnawed at Ryan's soul. They all stood on a precarious edge, the ferocious pull of temptation battling with the chains of regret. Do we really want to go back to that? Ryan shot back, surprised by his own fierceness. He pointed to the glowing figure. This might be our chance to what? Become part of something we can't control? Daniels interrupted, his voice rising. What if it's a lie? Around them, murmurs grew. Some soldiers drifted closer to the light, while others edged back into the shadows. The divide sliced through them as clearly as if it were a physical line in the soil. Do you hear it? The ethereal being suddenly asked, tilting its head slightly, the radiance around it flickering. The song of your hearts? It sings of longing, of burdens unfulfilled. That is your truth, your past. It is time to break free. Ryan closed his eyes, letting the chaotic sounds of reality wash over him, the rustling branches, the cries of fear, the rapid footsteps. Beneath it all flowed an undertone, a rhythm echoing through the night that tangled with the whispers of a different fate. Not everyone can step into the light, Miles said, shaking his head, fists clenched. But what if it's meant for us? What if we're the ones to change? Or it could lead us to our doom, Daniels countered fiercely. Ryan opened his eyes, feeling suddenly smaller, trapped on this fragile precipice. Behind him, he could hear the rising scuffles and splitting voices. A few had begun to step toward the figure, but fear wrestled with hope. The tension palpably electrified the air. Choose, the being continued, an inescapable finality embedded in its voice. Time wanes. The darkness gathers strength. The choice is yours, together or divided. The ground shook violently beneath their feet, threatening to swallow them whole. The light flickered like a candle, the shadows behind them swirling with an ominous whisper of their past. Ryan took a deep breath, the reality of the choice hanging heavy in the air, and his mind whirled. What lay ahead? What terrible price might they pay for this fleeting chance at redemption? And if they faltered now, would the darkness claim them at last? As the sounds of argument swirled around him, Ryan felt his spirit rise, a desperate urge igniting within him. He knew he had to say something that would unite them, break through the fear splintering their formation. Please, he began, his voice shaking yet somehow resolute. Let us not let our past define us. We owe it to those who didn't come back. But just as he forged ahead with his plea, a chilling howl pierced the night, a promise of something sinister lurking just out of sight. Would their hesitation seal their fate, or could they still embrace a future unknown? As tendrils of darkness curled closer, Ryan realized their choice moment was slipping away. The howl echoed, a bone-chilling sound that sliced through the night's simmering tension. It was more than just a cry, it was a summons crafted from the depths of terror and despair. The soldiers staggered back instinctively, hearts racing in a wild, primal rhythm. Fear clutched at Ryan's throat, nearly choking him as the shadows grew and twisted, hungry for their attention. Ryan! Miles shouted above the cacophony. We have to do something. Now! But as his eyes darted around the group, he realized that they were no longer united. Some were still drawn to the luminous figure, while others were frozen by fear, rooted in place as the darkness loomed menacingly, creeping closer, swallowing the ground beneath their feet. Listen! The glowing being implored, its voice cutting through the chaos like a beacon. Every moment of indecision feeds the darkness. Believe in the light, and it will guide you. Ryan's heart thundered in response. He struggled to hold on to his resolve. If they chose now, could they step into the light and escape the darkness, or would they fall victim to its impending wrath? Daniels, eyes wide and wild, took a hesitant step backward, his voice trembling. What if it's too late? What if we step toward the light and it just leads us to more pain? The ground shook again, more violently this time. The darkness stirred, almost alive, as if anticipating their every move. It was a horror they had seen before, a visceral reminder of what had taken so many from them. "Do we want to die here, standing still?" Ryan shouted, his voice hoarse as he felt a sudden surge of anger wash over him. "Can't you see? The darkness is already claiming us. We're too far gone unless we fight for the light right now." His words hung heavy, hanging in the air like an unspent bullet. Tension cut through the night, sharp as a knife. A handful of soldiers began to shift closer to him, emboldened by his words. Still, others hesitated, caught between their memories and a fate none of them could entirely comprehend. "Ryan, please," Daniels pleaded, fear echoing in his tone. "You don't know what you're asking us to do. This could end us." Just then, the howl returned, louder and wilder, sending a shiver down Ryan's spine. Tendrils of shadow snaked toward them, obscuring the ground, saturating the air with a foul stench of mildew and decay. Panic ignited, and soldiers flailed, their voices mingling in an unbearable clamor. The luminous figure's wings unfurled wider, granting a dappled glow that strove to push the darkness back. "Do you not feel it?" it urged. "Your fears, your past will only bind you stronger to the shadows. Embrace the light. Break free." Sweat slicked Ryan's palms, and he felt the ground tremble beneath him as the air thickened like syrup. The throbbing uncertainty clawed at his chest. What if this was just another lie? The thought rattled through his mind like gunfire, clouding his judgment yet again. "Now or never, guys," he proclaimed. "We have to choose. This is our last chance." With determination bubbling inside him, Ryan took a step forward, feeling the light's warmth brush against his skin. The darkness roared in response, an angry crescendo that clashed against the figure's radiant glow, forcing Ryan back a step. Shadows writhed, angrily flicking through the air like snakes, shrouding their path toward the light with a palpable threat. Just as he prepared to take another step, the screams escalated, a shriek from deep within the twisted mass of darkness. The sound morphed into a voice, one that bore familiarity and weight. "Ryan!" it called, echoing with grief and accusation. His heart dropped. "No," he breathed, dread flooding his veins. The light flickered uncertainly, and in that moment, he was drawn back to the past, to faces he'd lost. "Run!" someone screamed, and the crowd surged, driven either by fear or faith. As they fled, Ryan was left hesitating, torn between the shadows that clawed at his ankles and the light that promised salvation. Would they choose to unify and step toward hope, or would the darkness devour their souls? Just then, behind him, a familiar voice called once more, sharper than any steel. "You have to decide, Ryan, before it's too late." The air thrummed with urgency, fraying the edges of time. Would he turn back to confront the past, or embrace the inevitable challenge that lay ahead? The world around Ryan hissed, suffocating him with despair. Darkness lunged forward, shadows swirling around the soldiers like serpents, ready to strike. He could hear their whispers now, disorienting yet intimate, clawing at memories he tried to suppress. They were faces he knew well, faces of those who had fallen before him, and they implored him to stay, to yield to the darkness, to join them. "No!" he shouted, his voice raw with defiance. "I want to let them take me." The luminous figure surged forward, its illumination flickering like a candle in a tempest. "Fight it, Ryan. The light is within you." Determination coursed through his veins, mixing with fear. He scanned the crowd, frantic for a familiar face. The uncertainty, the shock, the despair, it gripped them all. Miles had moved closer, eyes wide with a mix of terror and hope, while Daniels lingered at the fringes, a ghost in the dim light. "Together!" Ryan called, summoning the remnants of his courage. "We're stronger together. We can face the darkness, but we need to believe." A soldier to his left, green eyes gleaming with tears, took a shaky step forward. "You really think it can work?" "I know it can," Ryan shouted back, heart pounding in his chest. "If we unite our strength, our fears 1T matter. We have to want the light more than we fear the dark. The howl escalated into a cacophony of anguish, a chorus fueled by desperation. Shadows thickened, clawing at their ankles like the hands of the damned, eager to drag them down. The ground trembled, and Ryan felt the walls of uncertainty closing in. One by one, soldiers began to shift, stepping cautiously toward him. It felt wrong and yet right, a sense of abandon mixed with hope. Suddenly, he could feel it, an undeniable spark igniting within the group as they began to move together, inching toward that radiant figure. Now! Ryan cried out, voice slicing through the noise. Together! As they surged forward, the light exploded, a radiant spectacle against the darkness. Ryan squinted against its brilliance, the warmth radiating off him, enveloping his body and mind. Then time slowed, the air begun to thrum with energy. The shadows writhed, hissing and flicking away as if burned. The luminous figure loomed tall and vast, wings stretching wide to engulf them all. They stood together, hearts pounding in rhythm, defiance washing over them as they united in purpose, but just as hope began to swell, a massive shadow detached from the darkness, rising before them like a monstrous wave. It was unlike anything they had ever encountered, a figure born of nightmare, eyes like black holes drawing in the light and hope around it. "Fools," it whispered, voice dripping with malice, "you think you can escape what is inevitable?" Terror tightened its grip around Ryan's throat once more. He clenched his fists, body hurling with adrenaline. "We have to face it." He yelled over the din, "Whatever it is, we can't back down." The creature laughed, a sound that resonated like thunder, saturating the night air with dread. "You're too late, child. The darkness knows you." Before Ryan could respond, the ground shook, knocking soldiers off their feet. The luminous figure flickered violently, its light waning as the shadows crawled closer. The soldiers, as if tethered by an inexplicable force, stumbled in disarray, lost between faith and fear. "Good luck," the giant shadow growled, as it surged forward, tendrils of darkness whipping about, eager to snuff out their flickering hope. With a final, desperate urge, Ryan lunged toward the light. Would they all be consumed by shadows, or would one act of courage reignite the flame and push back the dark? As he reached for the luminous figure, a wave of darkness crashed down, threatening to swallow them whole. His fate hung in that pregnant moment, suspended between light and dark, hope and despair. What would he find on the other side? And if the darkness claimed them all, would they drag Ryan into its depths, or could the light save them in time? The darkness surged, a tidal wave of despair crashing over Ryan and his comrades. Time stuttered, each eager heartbeat echoing in their ears. Shadows lashed out, tendrils that seeped into their minds, dredging up fears long buried. "Stay together," Ryan shouted, but panic crept into his voice. "We can't lose this light." The luminous figure struggled, valiantly fighting against the obsidian force, but its glow dimmed, flickering like a candle caught in a tempest. Each soldier felt the weight of despair digging deeper, gnawing at their resolve. They had united, yet fear splintered their ranks as the ground trembled underfoot. "Ryan." Miles' voice broke through the chaos, filled with urgency and dread. "What do we do?" "I don't know." The words escaped Ryan's lips like a wail. It wasn't he supposed to be like this. They had come to fight, to face the darkness together. Yet, here they were, paralyzed by shadow and fear. Suddenly, the night roared, a guttural sound that rattled the very marrow in their bones. The monstrous form twisted and coiled, shifting like molten darkness. The echoing laughter filled the air, oppressive and suffocating. "You believe you can resist?" The shadow sneered, its voice a taunt soaked in venom. "You are nothing but flickering embers against a storm." With every taunt, shards of doubt pierced through Ryan's heart, each word a dagger aimed at their hope. But beneath the layers of dread, a flicker ignited within him, a raw determination. He couldn't let his comrades lose faith. Not now. No. He roared, stepping forward, anger fueling his voice. "Our light is not gone. We haven't lost anything. A ripple of defiance coursed through the group. One soldier followed Ryan's lead, his jaw set tight. Another joined him, then another. They began to gather, each step more determined than the last. Together. For the light. Ryan shouted, pushing through the choking darkness. The luminous figure flickered back to life, its radiance swelled like a heart finding its rhythm again. Light danced along the shadows, creating a beam that shot toward the twisted figure, momentarily blinding them all. It shrieked, a bone-chilling sound, as if the very essence of fear had taken physical form. The tendrils recoiled, revealing glimmers of their defiance. Ryan felt their unity surge, an electric hum pulsing through the air. Each soldier's spirit linked to his, born of shared fears, hopes, and the warm memory of those they had lost. Together, they formed a barrier against the encroaching shadows. "Don't stop," Ryan urged. "Fight for what we believe in." The connection between them grew stronger, a steady heartbeat of unity. Just when it felt like hope could ignite, the dark figure twisted, its eyes flaring with malice. It shot forward, breaking through their shared resolve with a force that knocked them off balance. "Your light will burn out," it howled, launching a wave of darkness so deep it drained color from the air, leaving only a sense of suffocation in its wake. Ryan felt the despair creep in again, his heart hammering in his chest as he tumbled to the ground, feeling the chill of shadows creep around him. As he gasped for breath, he saw Miles struggling, hands against the ground, fighting to rise. "Ryan! Help!" The world around him blurred, darkness throbbed in his vision, and he reached out, fingers scraping against the cold earth. "I won't abandon you." But the shadows tightened, crushing hope. The soldiers cried out, panic replacing their unity. The moment stretched, full of desperation, where surrender seemed imminent. Then, somewhere amidst the chaos, a spark jumped. A strange glimmer shot through the darkness, illuminating the remnants of their fighting spirit. Ryan's heart raced. "What was that? Do you see it?" Miles gasped, wide eyes reflecting the flicker. "It's there. We can hold it." Yes. That spark was hope refusing to die, fighting tooth and nail. The dark figure hissed, hesitating, and as fear trembled through its monstrous form, Ryan looked to his comrades, their faces lit with newfound determination. "Now!" he bellowed, infusing every ounce of strength he had. "Together, let us unleash our light." As they reached together to grab that glimmer, something incredible surged within them, a chorus of defiance rising against the night. But just as they began to push back, a blinding explosion of light erupted, and everything faded into a mind-bending silence. What would emerge from this sudden calm? Would they find victory, or had the darkness dealt them a final blow? A hush fell, thick and heavy, enveloping Ryan like a shroud. Time seemed to stretch indefinitely as he floated in this void, suspended between realms. Every wound, every pang of fear, faded into nothingness, replaced by a serene brightness that enveloped him, lifting him from despair. The blinding light held him aloft, warmth washed over his skin, and a whisper seeped like honey into his mind. "You are not alone," it breathed, a voice gentle yet undeniably powerful, echoing in the vast silence. Ryan's eyes fluttered open, revealing a scene unlike anything he had ever known. They lay in a translucent meadow, shimmering under a golden tapestry of stars. Shadows shifted in the corners, but they lingered, waiting. The luminous figure stood tall among them. Miles lay beside him, his breathing calm, eyes wide with awe as he took in the surroundings. "Where are we?" Ryan murmured, disbelief threading its way through his voice. "The threshold," said the luminous figure, its light warm and comforting, "where hope and despair clash." Awash in confusion, Ryan's heart raced. "We were fighting, we had to save the others." The figure's glow flickered, a wave of sadness washing over it. "The darkness is relentless, but you must understand this is not the end." With a deep breath, Ryan struggled to his feet, looking around. The expansive meadow felt surreal, but fear clawed at him again, laced with a deeper worry. What happened to them? He breathed. The figure faced him, its eyes reflecting countless constellations. In this moment, they linger on the edge of all that you fear. You carry their light within you. That is your power. Within unity, there is strength. Unity, Miles echoed, slowly climbing to his feet next to Ryan. But we're not together now. It's just us. His voice cracked, a tremor betraying his fear. Ryan clenched his fists, fighting off despair. No. We need to go back. We can't abandon them. As if sensing his resolve, the luminous figure glided toward him. To return, you must confront the heart of the darkness. Only then can your light break through. A surge of adrenaline pierced through Ryan's confusion. I won. Let fear win. Not again. He looked at Miles, his expression serious. Are you with me? Miles nodded slowly, determination sparking in his eyes. Let us do this. The figure nodded, its form shimmering as it gestured towards a doorway that materialized on the edge of the meadow, edges glimmering with potential. Beyond this lies the path back to your comrades. But beware, the darkness will use your greatest fears against you. Reflect upon your heart, for only the truth shall guide you. Ryan felt weight settle in his stomach, no longer just about their mission, he could sense hidden truths threatening to rise. As they stepped toward the portal, shadows danced within, flickering like wild flames eager to consume anything within reach, but they had come too far to turn back. We will shine our light, Ryan declared as they crossed over. The air crackled with electricity, and the verdant meadow faded behind them, replaced by something darker, more sinister. Together! Ryan shouted, clenching Miles' shoulder as they stepped into the surging darkness. The shadows milled around them, murmurings wrapping tightly around their minds. You will never escape. And as fear seeped in, doubt rattling their resolve, visions of haunting memories emerged, faces lost, failures magnified, regrets echoing. But beneath it all, a flicker beckoned, a light fighting back. Don't give in. Remember why we fight. With those words hanging in the air, they faced the darkness together, hearts pounding in synchrony. Suddenly, chilling laughter echoed, and a figure materialized, a grotesque manifestation of their deepest fears. Are you ready to succumb? As it lunged forward, they held their ground, ready to confront whatever horror lay ahead. Would they find their way back? Or would the darkness consume their last flicker of hope? The darkness surged around them, suffocating and cold. Ryan felt a chill race down his spine, every instinct screaming at him to run. But he stood firm, grounding himself in the pulse of determination thrumming in his chest. Miles was by his side, his breath quickening, but Ryan could see the flicker of resolve in his eyes. The grotesque figure loomed closer, a melding of shadows and fears. It shifted, morphing into the familiar faces of those they had lost. Ryan's heart ached as glimpses of blurred shadows formed memories he wished he could forget. Each one tore at his heartstrings, their laughter, joyous reunions, all reduced to whispers of loss. Look beyond the fear. The figure hissed, voice dripping with malice. You think you can save them? They are gone. Ryan shook his head, refusal coursing through him. No. They're not gone. They exist in the light we carry. Miles clenched his fists, his own voice trembling but gaining traction. We will not be your puppets. The words ignited something in Ryan, a flicker of defiance burning even brighter. The figure's laughter echoed through the void, mocking and distorted. You're only two souls adrift. You can't possibly fight an army, a legion of doubt, despair. With a roar, the dark entity lunged forward, but they stood united, unfazed. Ryan reached for Miles, their hands clasping together tightly. Remember the moments that brought us here. We are the light they need. As if powered by their combined strength, a pulse of warmth emanated from their joined hands, breaking through the oppressive darkness. The shadows recoiled, but the grotesque figure continued to advance, morphing into something even more terrifying. Foolish youths. You think your unity can shield you? It distorted again, revealing Ryan's most profound fear standing alone, powerless to save everyone he loved. Desperate souls reached toward him, their cries echoing like thunder. In that instant, doubt clawed at Ryan's heart. He stumbled back, swallowing hard against the lump forming in his throat. Memories flooded back, the moments of defeat, the times he felt unworthy, the faces of friends who had depended on him, slowly drifting into the abyss without his help. But then Miles stepped closer, his grip tightening. "Don't you see? We are not alone. We have each other, and we have all of them inside us. Their hope still lives in our hearts." Ryan's breath came faster, the walls of despair crumbling around him. He pushed back against the dark figure with a newfound ferocity. "You can't take what we cherish away. We stand together, even in the shadow's grip." Their words rang out, cutting through the murmur of shadows. A stream of warm light burst forth from their clasped hands, illuminating the encroaching darkness, pushing back the terror. In that moment, the grotesque figure faltered, revealing the cracks in its facade. The laughter faded, replaced by guttural growls as shadows began to dissipate, unable to withstand the force of their connection. "Do you feel it? The power?" Miles gasped, the light enveloping them both. Their world surged with renewed energy, the darkness lessening with every heartbeat. "A shift," Ryan breathed, eyes wide with realization. "We can't just fight the dark. We have to illuminate the way for everyone." As they stood firm, turning towards the fading shadows, a burst of brilliance erupted from their hearts, sending crackling arcs of energy through the dark. The monstrous figure writhed, panic etched across its face, the embodiment of their fears crumbling in the face of hope, but as the last remnants of shadows began to retreat, the air grew thick with a new presence, a chilling aura that made Ryan's hair stand on end. A different voice echoed behind them, a cold whisper, one that promised a greater darkness yet to come. "Foolish children, your end is merely the beginning." And just like that, the ground beneath them began to quake, fissures of despair cracking through their newfound light. "What's that?" Miles asked, confusion darting across his face. "Something worse," Ryan replied, heart racing. They turned to face the unseen terror, knowing now that their resolve would be tested yet again. But they were not just two, they were a united front, ready to fight whatever this new darkness brought. What awaited them in this chasm of uncertainty? Would their bond withstand the looming threats they faced ahead? The ground trembled beneath their feet, each quake sending ripples of panic through Ryan's chest. The shadows retreated, but a thick, suffocating fog began rolling in, swirling around them with a sinister intent. The air crackled with palpable energy, a mix of dread and something else, something terrifyingly potent. "What is this?" Miles gasped, his voice barely a whisper above the chaos. Ryan's heart pounded in his ears, drowning out the confusion brewing inside him. It felt as if the very universe was holding its breath, waiting for something monumental to unfold. "Stay close," Ryan urged, his grip around Miles tightening as they stepped forward into the encroaching darkness. It parted slightly, granting them a view of a vast expanse filled with glimmering lights, tiny pinpricks scattered like stars in the night sky. But each glimmer pulsed with an eerie rhythm, reminiscent of the heartbeat of the darkness itself. "What are those?" Miles pointed at the lights, fear and intrigue battling within him. "They could be hope, or a trap," Ryan replied, scanning the horizon. His instincts urged caution while the need to understand drew him closer. They chose to move towards the lights, uncertain of what lay ahead. With every step, memories of laughter and love filled Ryan's mind, each recollection a lifeline tugging him forward. He felt the warmth of those moments clawing at the corners of the encroaching dread, reminding him of the strength he and Miles harbored together. Yet the whispers of the dark entity hung in the air like smoke, snaking around him. "Your struggles are meaningless," a voice coiled around him, sinister and familiar. "You defy fate, little ones. This gallant endeavor will end in despair." "Shut up!" Miles shouted suddenly, his voice breaking like glass amid the fog. The anger in his tone resonated deeply, cutting through the darkness. We've faced worse than you. You think you can shake us? Foolish boy, the voice hissed, dawning on an all-too-clear fact as the fog began to swirl faster, creating a vortex around them. You have awakened an ancient force. This is beyond your understanding. Ryan's pulse raced as he exchanged glances with Miles, feeling the weight of their task growing heavier. Whatever that thing is, we've fought dark forces before. We can't let it intimidate us. We're stronger together. With renewed determination, they squeezed each other's hands, a gesture of solidarity against the rising tide of fear. A blinding flash erupted between them, illuminating the area and pushing the swirling fog back momentarily. But then the lights began flickering like dying stars, casting jittery shadows around them. Miles, it's spreading. Ryan screamed, horrified as the darkness threatened to consume their fragile light. What do we do? Miles shouted. The quaking ground trembled more violently now, as if they stood on the brink of an insatiable abyss. It's showing us what we need to face. Ryan yelled back, his voice hoarse. Face it. We'll push through. Suddenly, the faint voices of those they loved began to echo around them. Whispers of encouragement mixed with painful goodbyes. Ryan froze, a linchpin of sorrow gripping his heart. No. This isn't how it ends. He shouted, desperation driving the words out of him. Miles. He turned, searching for his friend. We are the light. We won't let them go that easily. Unseen hands began to claw at them from the shadows, like tendrils of fear reaching for their very souls. Ropes of despair tried to pull them apart, but they held on tighter, forming a shield of resilience, their shared memories pulsing like a beacon. Suddenly, a pain-filled scream lanced through the air, a soul trapped within the darkness. Their faces of friends echoed back in taunts. The shadows writhed, angered at their defiance. Remember. Ryan shouted as the wind howled around them. Remember our fights, remember our purpose. Just then, brilliant light streamed from their combined hearts, illuminating the surrounding void, thrusting back against the tendrils of despair. The shadows hissed, recoiling as they faced the purity of their bond, but just as hope surged, a laugh erupted in the darkness, a harsh, gravelly sound that cut through everything they built. Your bond? Your light? The voice shrieked. It will lead you to your end. Ryan felt his knees tremble, uncertainty creeping in once more. What damage lay ahead? They had ignited something ancient, but could they face it? The darkness swirled faster, a tempest now that gripped them in a cold embrace. Ryan steeled himself while masking the unease clawing at his heart. Together. He cried, the two holding each other closer, preparing for the inevitable confrontations, but uncertainty loomed larger than ever, the very air shifting with a silent promise of horror, and the whispers of fate danced around them, urging them to confront the unimaginable. As they faced the gathering storm, a thought flashed through Ryan's mind with ominous clarity. Even the fiercest light couldn't shine without being tested by darkness. What was waiting to break free from the shadows? Would their bond cement their fate or shatter under the strain? The tension in the air was suffocating, pressing in on them like an iron weight. Ryan and Miles stood shoulder to shoulder, clear resolve igniting a fierce flame within their chests. The swirling darkness coiled around them, a sinuous mass that breathed regret and whispered despair. But in the shadows, flickers of light pulsed in response, a reflection of their combined strength. Remember why we're here. Ryan shouted, his voice slicing through the chaos. We fight not just for us, but for everyone we lost. We will not let this darkness claim us. His heart thundered, every beat a reminder of the faces that urged him on, the friends who had fought bravely beside them. He would not let fear win. Not again. Miles nodded, determination flooding his eyes as the echoes of old battles surged in their memories. Together. For the light. He shouted back, the declaration sparking the unity within the ranks that had begun to falter. Their hands, clasped tightly, radiated warmth, growing brighter with each unified heartbeat. The echo of their camaraderie washed over them with a soothing promise. As the darkness lunged, Ryan felt a tremor beneath his feet, the very ground seemed to quaver in anticipation. "Step into the light," he urged, knowing they had to push back and reclaim what had been taken. Shadows writhed around them like angry serpents, eager to drag them down, but they held firm. "We stand together," Miles proclaimed. With every ounce of strength. The flickering luminescence intensified as they squeezed each other's hands, refusing to let go. A surge of collective will rippled through them, and the ground beneath transformed, pulsing with vibrant energy that clashed against the oppressive gloom. The dark figure, grotesque and furious, reeled back, its twisted form losing definition. "What are you doing?" it screeched, voice dripping with disbelief and venom. "You think your unity can shield you?" "Yes," Ryan shouted, shaking with conviction, "our unity is our power." The words flowed into the very essence of their surroundings, strengthening not just their resolve but weaving an intricate web of light around them. Gradually, the essence of warmth pushed away the shadows. Light sent crackling arcs against the crushing weight of despair, illuminating fragments of memories that glowed like distant stars. As gorgeous memories of laughter and love began to bloom around them, the dark figure twisted violently, losing its grip. "You are nothing," it howled, but the confidence in their voices drowned it out. They were not nothing, they were a collective spirit, ardent and fierce, clawing their way back. The shadows, retreating under the growing power of light, began to shimmer and flicker. "Now! Together!" Ryan cried, rallying what remained of their fragmented hope. Fueled by every shared moment and every ounce of regret, they forged forward, a wall of solidarity crashing through the tendrils of despair. The dark figure shrieked, its form flicking and fading. "No! You can't!" But before it could finish its threat, a brilliant flash erupted, flooding the darkness with radiant energy. Ryan could feel warmth enveloping him, the essence of hope roaring back to life. They were more than just survivors, they were the embodiment of resilience, and they had awakened something powerful within. "Is it working?" Miles gasped, bewilderment and exhilaration flooding his features as the shadows spread thin, retreating. "I hope so," Ryan replied, breathless but steadfast. "We need to keep pushing. It's almost over." The ground trembled beneath them one last time, and the darkness screeched, desperate and furious. With a collective roar, they surged forward, light expanding like wildfire, turning their fear into pure strength. As their radiance blazed, fractured echoes of old battles faded into nothingness, swallowed by the unstoppable force of their unity, and just like that, the tumult faded, whispers silenced, the malevolence unraveled before them, the once dark landscape brightened into a serene horizon, awash with light. They stood together, Ryan, Miles, and several other soldiers, now bathed in an ethereal glow of triumph. The shadows that threatened their very existence faded into nothing, obliterated by the brilliance they had ignited within. The battlefield was eerily quiet now, the air lighter, the darkness vanquished. It felt as if the universe had exhaled a deep, heavy breath. Was this victory? Had they truly overcome? Miles clasped Ryan's shoulder, eyes wide with relief. "We did it!" Ryan's heart swelled with emotion, the weight of what they had fought for crashing down around him, a release of tension manifested in tears. "We did it together," he whispered. Each soldier stood in a moment of silence, eyes glistening with hope and remembrance, and then, a sound broke through the quiet, a murmur of cheers, men and women rising like phoenixes from the ashes of war, claiming their lives anew. Ryan felt the overwhelming rush of camaraderie enveloping him, the bonds of brotherhood stronger than any fear, brighter than the most terrifying shadows. Their battle had been long and hard, but victory tasted sweet. They had faced the darkness and emerged triumphant, woven together into an unbreakable tapestry of light. As dawn broke, painting the world in warm hues, Ryan understood one truth: there was always light to find, always a way forward, even in the darkest of nights. And as they stepped into a new day hand in hand with their comrades, Ryan knew this was just the beginning, but there was one last thing to ask: you need to subscribe now so you don't miss our next incredible saga. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep our community growing. And don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending Your Voice Matters. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need this uplifting conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to show your support.